right, folks, it's another episode of the Gary and Mark Show, and I'm Gary.
And I am Mark.
And we're coming to you not live.
But we are alive.
We're alive, and where are we alive, Mark?
Well, you know what? You know this place better than me, Gary. Where are we?
Well, it's now DuPont State Recreational Forest, but...
And it's near where? Where are we?
It's near, between Brevard and... what would you say, Hendersonville, Cedar Mountain, up in there?
That's what I would say, but I have no clue.
And actually, we're very lucky to have Jeff Jennings with us, who is one of the reasons. There were many people involved, but he was one of the key people when it looked like this was going to end up being a gated community with golf course and homes. These folks... Oh, gosh, hard to say how much time and effort they put in, but to get this preserved, saved for, this has been 20 years now.
Wow. And it is a beautiful place. We're going to get some facts from Jeff in a minute, but just so people know, we are on location at this forest right now. Beautiful day. It is the Forest Festival, DuPont Forest Festival, and this is part of, Jeff, if this is not right, National Public Lands Day.
That's right.
Fourth Saturday of every September, and it is gorgeous out here today. We did luck out because we've had some rain earlier in the week. So before we get on to this, you have any news notes, Gary, or anything going on that you can think of down in Watershed, maybe?
That's going on down there?
Down there, yeah.
There's been no COVID.
And you know what? So Jeff doesn't understand. Watershed is where we actually base our podcast from. Small town. And when we started this podcast, hardly anybody knew of us. Now we've got like 15, 16 fans. So we have this following.
Yeah.
And such demand for podcasting these days that Gary is his brainchild. We formed the Gary and Mark Podcasting University.
All right.
And it is located in Watershed.
Watershed, North Carolina.
And it was fortunate, Gary can back me up, that we formed it about the same time that COVID was coming around. And, you know, everything was shutting down and we had to be socially distant. And we're going to tell you that that university is probably the most socially distant place
it is
in the world. You can go to that university and never have to step foot on it. You can get a diploma and hardly have to take a class. So it's been very popular. We've got a lot of graduates. Yeah.
Point of the spear, cutting edge. That's us.
It is. So we don't want to take too much of Jeff's time, just our bantering here, because he's got a booth he's manning. There's a bunch of booths here from all kinds of places. Friends of DuPont Forest, Athletic Brewing Company, Blue Ridge Humane Society. These are the ones that have fancy signs. There are some that would be like Gary and myself who have no signs. We just kind of set up. And but we're happy to be here. And there's a guy wearing a uniform. Must be with the State Forest.
Sure, yeah.
State Parks or State Forest or something. All right. So, Gary, why don't you officially give our good friend here.
Jeff Jennings.
Jeff Jennings.
Who?
Okay. There we go.
Come on now.
No, you deserve it. You deserve that.
Yeah. And let's say, what, was it 20 years ago, Jeff, you guys? What?
Well, what I call the first round of acquisition of DuPont Forest State started in 95. So that's about well more than that, 26 years ago.
Yeah.
But the round of the land acquisition that made all the news headlines was 21 years ago in 2000.
And so this property before it became DuPont State Forest was?
Well, it was a DuPont plant starting in the mid-50s, first to make silicon chips. Before silicon chips before Silicon Valley, this may have been the first attempt at Silicon Valley. But in the later 50s, it was transitioned over to medical X-ray film manufacturing.
And so did you have a connection with DuPont Forest? I mean, DuPont, the company?
Yeah, starting in 85, I was an employee, not at this site, and I rotated around and came here in 91. So I've just kind of celebrated my 30 years living in Hendersonville and affiliation with this property.
But now you got your engineering degree at Clemson, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so not that far away.
No, that's right. Got close to home.
Yeah.
Did you know George Shepardson, was that his name? Was his name? had Winding Gap Camp or something?
I don't think.
Oh, I knew him. Yeah.
Winding Gap, was it the
Camp
name of it?
Winding Gap. Yeah, yeah.
He worked for DuPont.
Okay.
I mean, it has nothing to do with the
Yeah.
festival here. So, so how many acres does this now encompass?
10,000?
Well, I think it's now north of 11,000 and working on 12.
Wow.
It continues to grow, and we really have a lot of people to thank for that. But Conserving Carolina certainly continues to work with the adjoining property owners, either for conservation easements or outright acquisition. There's 2 or 3 properties that have come in the last year, so the acreage is creeping towards 12,000.
Wow. And, I mean, Gary's hiked all over this place. I'm sure you have. I've only touched on a tiniest percentage of it, but there are several nice waterfalls.
Oh, yeah. I mean, waterfalls was the theme of the big, land acquisition campaign, the Friends of the Falls campaign in 2000, with the big 3 waterfalls of High Falls, Triple Falls, and Bridal Veil Falls coming into the forest in December of 2000. But we also have Hooker Falls and a few other falls as well.
And then where Danny Bernstein was taking folks to Wintergreen, that's one of my favorites because it doesn't seem to get that much traffic.
Yeah, that's my son's favorite and one of my favorites.
Yeah.
It's smaller falls, and one fun fact is that I recommended the name Wintergreen to the forest staff, and kind of proud to tell my kids anyway that I helped name it.
Privileges. Wow, that's cool. Well,
Yeah, because if I had to name it, who knows? I had to see it first, but
Yeah.
I remember one quick story aside that they told me, Bill Bailey used to tell me, that Camp Chosatonga, where he ran the camp, he said when the guy was starting it, did you ever hear the story? The guy, Monty Oates, whatever his name was, brought in this Indian chief, Native American chief from Cherokee, said, what would you describe this big, this valley, beautiful valley, and the mountains and the creeks? And the man chief said something like Chosatonga. And apparently years later it came to mean the wording was, in Cherokee, it's probably not true at all, it's just a story, big ditch. So that's what would happen to me if I was trying to name something like that. So I would name the first thing that walked by. So who knows what that would be. So you're on the board now.
Yeah,
Were you?
Oh, it
Let's
was
talk
one
a
of the
little bit
early
about-
guys.
Yeah, I mean, in spring of 2001, after Friends of the Falls kind of wound up our operations as, an advocacy group to help convince the governor to condemn the property. The acquisition, was open to the public in December of 2000, and about April 2001, Friends of DuPont Forest formed. So I was first president, founding president of Friends of DuPont Forest, and so this festival here today is sponsored by Friends of DuPont Forest, and we've continued to grow over the last 20 and a half years.
Do you have any idea how many visitors the park or the forest gets a year?
Yeah. It was funny, in the first 10 years, the board was worried about, we need to get the word out. We need to help the people love the forest. We don't want to have a forest with nobody to come. And in the last 10, 11, 12 years, it's just,
Having to build more parking lots.
Yeah, it's just overwhelmed. We believe we've crossed 1 million per year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Per year.
Per year.
Wow.
It's one of the top destinations in western North Carolina.
I hear people mention it all the time. I'm going to DuPont.
And mountain biking, which I don't do anymore, but did. I would say this place, not only, one of your other early supporters or two, Woody and JoJo Keene. Woody kind of, his business Trail Dynamics, he refined that, seemed like working here, like the ways to build trails that bank turns and trying to build trails that weren't going to require constant maintenance because of the design.
Yeah, during the Friends of the Falls campaign in 2000, Woody, Keene, and JoJo were really instrumental, in that group. And then as we formed Friends of DuPont Forest in 2001, Woody was on the board, and he had contacts at the International Mountain Biking Association. So we were the recipients of an unbelievable amount of trail design talent, both with Woody himself and actually bringing in the top mountain bike trail designers in the world actually came and did some, week-long seminars here. And so, for example, Airstrip Trail, one of our early design products, from IMBA, and there's so many, footprints of Sorba.
Yeah.
The Sorba, the Pisgah area, Sorba and Greenville.
So what's Sorba stand for? I used to know, but
Southern Off-Road Biking Association. Is that right? It's effectively the volunteer groups that maintain mountain biking trails, both in upstate Sorba from Greenville and Pisgah Sorba here in Brevard and Hendersonville and Asheville area. So
in addition to hiking and biking, we can see two mountain bikers right now. Are there equestrian trails? Or
yes,
no?
there've always been equestrian access. Part of our original founding thesis was if we were lucky enough to pry this land out from under the developer, that we would share it among all users, whether it's hunters, fishermen, hikers, mountain bikers, and equestrians. So there's been a theme of shared trail use. It's actually one of the highest density trail systems that hasn't been divided among users yet. And we're trying to keep that. But
that's a challenge.
As the million visitors come, there are challenges to that. For sure.
Gosh, I don't have my calculator. I'm not good at mental math. But if you took 1 million and divided by 365 days,
that's a
lot of people
yeah.
a day. Yeah, and I've been here I would come midweek thinking the parking lots wouldn't be full, but they're pretty full.
It's crazy.
It is, but it's a great place. I can see why. And you know what? Right now, it's free. Right?
It's free. It's free. Of course, there is discussion of whether fees will be needed to manage the overflow crowds and discussions among the state leadership about funding. So we're just wanting to make sure if it is done, it's done in a smart way and in a fair way.
Well, to me, I'm happy to pay a fee when I know the fee is staying with that park.
Right. That's one of the precepts that we think will be, that is being discussed.
It's, of course, I've been in the big parks now. Of course, Gary and I old enough. Gary, do you have your senior pass?
Well, of course I do.
Of course you did. Me too. Do you have one? You're not old enough yet.
I don't quite.
It's a treasure. You didn't look old enough. Okay, Jeff.
I'm getting there really close. A few more weeks.
He's younger than he looks.
But
he's older than he looks. He looks very young.
But I can't remember when he started charging because, Smokies has never charged because of some pact they made with the Native Americans when they took it from them, I guess. But
well, the Smokies, if you backcountry camp, you pay a fee.
You do have to pay
and
a fee.
I'm happy to do it. And state parks in South Carolina, Jones Gap, you go hiking, you're supposed to, they don't have a cop there to hit you over the head, but there's an envelope and a number of people and kind of honor system, I think, $4.
Well, a lot of state parks in South Carolina you pay to get in in the car. In North Carolina, those are all free. And I only know that because I just set this goal to visit all 41 with this van here.
Yeah.
And
this bubble.
Oh, I saw bubbles coming through. I don't know what that was. Okay.
Well, one of my personal selfish reasons for liking this, it provides, I like connectivity. In DuPont, it's pretty easy to get from here down to Brevard to Pisgah, and the other way to get up to Jones Gap.
Mountain Bridge
to Mountain Bridge Wilderness. And from Mountain Bridge, I have section hiked from there all the way to the Chattooga now. But, and I just knowing that, and someday my dream is pick up or the Chattooga, take the Bartram up to the AT to the Smokies, and then
there's a lot of people working on this vision, Gary.
Yeah,
you're not the only one. I remember Tommy White's from Greenville, the father of the Mountain Bridge Wilderness. I was fortunate enough to talk to him in the mid '90s, and he already had the vision. He said we need to get from the Foothills Trail to the Art Loeb Trail with his vision, and DuPont stands right in the middle there, and thanks to Chuck McGrady and some other people. There's a lot of people thinking working on that. Sam Neill.
Yeah, Sam Neill. And there's a Sam Neill Gap. That's just Neill's Gap. That's not related.
It's a different.
Different. Okay.
Sam Neill and Chuck McGrady have a lot to do with us being here today.
Yep.
Well, he was a good old camp person, Chuck McGrady. So what do you do in your other life when you're not board member here?
Engineer, small business owner, and
in Hendersonville, Brevard, or
Fletcher near Yeah, right on the Buncombe.
Is it kind of
line.
pressure gauges?
Pressure regulators, yeah.
That your business took. We're not going to talk about it, but it really took off, and a lot of sales internationally.
Yeah,
and you,
fortunate.
Jeff's an humble guy, but he has done quite well with this company, and it's really great. And giving back to the community. I know Hoyle, my buddy who works with the chamber, talk about you all about mentoring.
Oh, we're working on some of that.
Yeah, trying to get people. Yeah, science always, kind of scared me.
Oh yeah, and I taught science and it scared me.
Yeah,
and of course I was teaching 5th grade. Hope they're not listening, because they always think you're a scientist if you're a science teacher, and he would ask me things I knew nothing about. I said, "Why are you asking me?" He says, "Because you're the science teacher, or you're a science
that's
scientist."
Close enough.
Oh no, I have to read it in the book. But so it is again, a beautiful day out here.
And maybe I hope you guys get a chance to meet Lucia Gerdes is our board president. She's here, and Sarah Landry.
I hope Sarah comes over.
Well, as you walk around, send them this way.
Send them this way. Yeah, Sarah. I've known Sarah's daddy for 50 years. And Mama. Used to play tennis with her mama.
We're so happy to have the DuPont State Forest management
here. Here comes Sarah now.
Sarah's coming.
She's probably telling us to shut this thing down and get out of here.
Yeah. I don't know if Jason Guidry, the forest supervisor, is going to make it out.
Oh, yeah.
If I see him, I'll bring him over.
Look at
over this
she
way.
She walks with a certain authoritative.
She's probably telling us we're over parked and haven't paid a permit or something.
I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have the executive director. She's going to be on in a minute, whether she knows it or not. So, did you have a question of us? You just see what's going on.
I was just told to come over here.
Okay. Well, we're going to have you on the show in just a minute. So, all right, don't go far because we're going to wrap this one up.
All right.
In just a minute.
How do we do
that? Before we do that,
Yeah.
we got a couple of things that are important, Gary.
Oh, and thank our sponsors.
Even before that,
Yeah.
we have someone here. This is a rare day because you should recognize that sound.
Yes.
What does that sound, Gary?
That means we are about to present a diploma.
We are.
From the Gary and Mark Podcasting University.
We are.
Jeff could put this on his wall right next to his Clemson diploma.
Yeah.
Or he can put it wherever he wants to put it. He can.
Now, and yes, he can. And it's actually a BS.
It's a BS. We that's what we crank out. We crank out BS.
And we just first. Your name's not on it because we didn't know who was showing. Now, you can either take this yourself and put your name on it, or I can email you an official copy.
Yeah.
You'll still have to print it out. This is fancy
I'll
parchment.
probably put that right over my Clemson diploma.
You know what? We hear that all the time.
Yeah, we do.
We hear that all the time. So, again, it's, Gary, read it to him here for
Okay.
Having
successfully completed the rigorous course of studies prescribed by the Gary and Mark Podcasting University, and having sent in the appropriate tuition and hopefully small unmarked bills or PayPal credit transaction, the trustees, professors, instructors, bartenders hereby award the degree of BS in podcasting with honors to Jeff Jennings.
I'm humbled. Thank you.
All right, you should. Yeah, there we go. Again, more applause.
Education is expensive, but talk is cheap.
That is true. So we're going to give you this, and before you leave, we're got to thank our sponsors and get a picture of you. Okay.
All right.
And so, Gary, who's our sponsors? Tell us what we
we've
have
got
here.
the Big Whiz Pocket Buddy.
We do.
We've got let's see, the
Rabbit Island Resort,
just a hair better. And then we have Saluda Outfitters. Big Eddy's Green River Tap Room.
Something like that. We got L.J. Meyers, Professional White Dove Releases.
Yeah.
And we've got kind of Iron Key Brewing.
That's
because they treated us to lunch there and a beer one day.
Yeah.
So they're officials. Wow. It does not take a lot to sponsor us. DuPont Forest could probably sponsor us for about $1.
We could.
Okay. Yeah. Y'all give us a sticker or something, we'll be good to go. So actually, Gary's going to give him a sticker before we leave. We'll get a picture of him holding that up.
Yeah,
so, Gary, you know what? It's been another good episode.
Yes, it has.
Episode 47.
Here we go.
Podcasting from
DuPont State Recreational Forest here in North Carolina.
Beautiful North Carolina, a beautiful day. I'm Mark.
I'm Gary.
We'll see you next time.
And thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.